Hey y'all, welcome back. If you hear noise outside, don't even mind it. It's a time. People are having a time. So I wanted to read Parable of the Talents, which is in Matthew 25:14 through 30, as well as James 1:12. So I'll start with the Parable of the Talents. For it'll be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded them and made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. So also he who had but he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now, after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more talents, saying, Master, you delivered me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also, who had the 2 talents, came forward, saying, Master, you delivered me 2 talents. Here, I've made 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what is yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I would reap where I have not sown, and gathered where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness, in that place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And then the other verse was James 1:12. Blessed is the one who endures trials, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those that love him. So, one thing that I want to know, I feel like a lot of people equate the parable of the talents directly to talents. There's even in in Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler, she also mentions the main character mentions the fact that that's something her father would talk about, because her father was a preacher. So that was one of the main parables, since her father really loved parables, because there's always a story, there's always a lesson in them, right? And in the book, I noticed recently, because I'm rereading, it was kind of like she was just like, I think she was talking to her husband at the time, and she just goes, yeah, whatever I do what I can with whatever I have. If I can even do remotely a little, then I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna handle it. And so that stood out to me, and that's why I was just like, I'm gonna read this passage today, because another thing that came up for me is that, especially, something's passing, I feel like especially now it's easy to focus on like what is going wrong, and like people going through some stuff, you feel me? Especially now, like I feel like everybody's, not everybody, but like people in their own capacities are going through different things, right? And it's a lot of people that think that just because a situation is bad, or it went from worse to worse, or that God's not in there, and like in there, like I feel like you hear it all the time, like it's a bad situation, and it's just like, God can't be here, he can't be with me. And that's a lie. I really do think that's a lie, because ain't nothing, because I'm like, if you're talking about the same God that you say is all seeing, all knowing, and he's not here, that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. And especially having a passage like James 1:12, and just to give you further context, James is writing to these different churches, and he's talking about becoming more mature, especially in your faith. And at some point you have to become mature enough to understand that everything you go through isn't about you, number one. And another thing, again, like even quoting James in James 1 2 through, let's say, 4, consider it a great joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you experience various trials, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance, and let endurance have its full effect, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. And again, I feel like I'm pointing to last week's devotional where someone else was talking about you have to grow up at some point, right, in the faith, in your faith, in what you know for yourself to be true, to understand that things are pre-approved. Like there's no process in which something comes to you. Come here, Job, okay? Come here, Jonah. There's nothing that is not pre-approved, not even allowed, okay? And I feel like that's just so much, and that's everything, right, in life. Like there's nothing that isn't already like discussed up there. Like, and that's another thing I really enjoyed about Bible study these past, well, whenever I do Bible study with Hope, because it's like there's always an emphasis and reminder that things are happening in spiritual realms before they even happen here on earth. Like there's always that reminder, and I feel like people forget. Like everything, like again, everything you go through ain't about you, and it already happened on another level in a different realm. Like I'm thinking about Revelations, and like the way I've been studying even that the past couple of weeks in the Bible app. I highly recommend the plans that are there, but the way that even in Revelations they're talking about, like for example, there's a woman in the heavens that gives birth, and there's a dragon that is said to be like trying to like prey on the child before the woman gives birth in the heavens, and that's said to be Jesus, right? Because there's this special child. I say quotation marks, but like I'm here on earth, like because it's like I am here on earth, but it's just like there's supposed to be a special child that's born, right? And so, and he's waiting. He's waiting for his turn, his chance, because this is supposed to be the child that saves the world, right? Type of thing. And I think I admire that so much. That's another thing, because there's another story within like African francophone countries of Kuriko. He's also said he was like this little black baby that he runs around, and because he knew his, it's like the kind of stories you hear about, like, oh, her name was in my lips before like I even knew what to name her, like that kind of thing. Like that's it's like it's an animation, it's a popular animation, and I'll link it below because I feel like it's important to, you should know this one type of thing. But anyway, just getting back to the story, I feel like Parable of the Talents, it gets caught up in, I think it gets almost lost on people and their talents and not the other things that they possess, if that makes sense. Like you possess more than just your gifts, but who you are if you allow yourself, right? If you allow yourself to embody all of who you are, and all of who you are has to go through trials, and for you to embody all of who you are, like you ain't gonna just come up on these in roses and cafes and like sipping lattes. Like that doesn't make no sense. Like there's so much that you get prepared for going through things, and that's what he's talking about. That's what James is trying to talk about with spiritual maturity, with trial and understanding it. It's not like you're trying to, what's the word, you're not trying to romanticize it, but it's just like be for real about what this is about, because it's not about you. And I hope you take that away as well from even the parable of the talents. It's not about you till it is, in a sense, because at this point in Matthew, Jesus is foretelling things. He's talking about things that are going to come to pass, like no one knows the day of the hour type thing. Like he's literally on that flow right now. Like he's trying to tell the Pharisees and scribes about themselves, and like I'm like literally flipping through everything. And he also told them about the like 10 virgins, and that they're plotting to kill Jesus like at this time. Like He's just like, I'm just trying to tell you things so you can learn something. And I do feel like Parable of the Talents was one of those things. Like, I need you to understand that you need to be mature enough not to just be scared at everything and the risks that are involved, and with whatever you do and however you move or whatever. Like, you can't just operate on being scared and waiting for other people to say so. Why are you operating on people to say so? I feel like a lot of times we get told what we need to do next in our spirits, and then we try and run and tell A, B, C, and D and get consent and approval and confirmation, and it's just like, it's already there. All right. Bow your head, close your eyes. Dear God, there's a lot of stuff that weigh on our hearts and minds, even today. Even with the changing seasons, even with the changing weather, even with the changing policies and administration, but we know the one who doesn't change, who's been the same yesterday, today, and will be the same tomorrow. And I pray that we can just stand firm in that, that you continue to grow our faith and grow us up. In Jesus' name, amen.